about anything.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'll just do a brief introduction, and then maybe you can kind of give the spark notes, like high school to college to your time in dental school, what you did throughout that. And then really tonight we want to focus on life after dental school. So like the ins and outs of business and practice and what you've learned and everything about that. So Dr. Dumpert is one of I consider him my mentor. He's been absolutely wonderful to me. He's let me shadow, taught me an amazing amount of stuff. He graduated from the same high school in Pennsylvania as me. He got a bachelor's degree at IUP, a school in Pennsylvania. He then went to Pitt for dental school, and then he did his residency at a VA hospital. It was a year-long residency, and I'm sure he'll talk about that a little bit. And he's a very, this is very simple, but he's a very cool guy. He's a big surfer. He's lived in Hawaii. He's been all over the map. He's went on different mission trips to Honduras, and I think Dr. Ackah was on this mission trip as well.
Yeah, we did Honduras together.
So yeah, and I'm assuming you two met during dental school.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
We've been friends ever since, unfortunately.
Yep.
Well, that's good. Good. And then Dr. Ackah is a periodontist, right?
Yes, sir. Hey, I'm a periodontist. Went to the University of Pittsburgh as well. Graduated from Pitt. Went to Pitt for like everything. I did dental school at Pitt. I did the VA, same residency that Dr. Dumpert did. Then I went back to Pitt for my perio specialty. So I kind of stayed at Pitt for a while, and then all of a sudden, here I am in Houston, Texas now. So it's kind of been a shift, and I came down here, 2014? So yeah, I've been here for a little bit of time. It's fun, man. It's fun.
Gotcha. So I guess I'll just ask Dr. Dumpert first. Do you want to talk a little bit about what dental school looked like for you and then everything you've done after that?
Sure. So I decided on dental school a little bit late. I was, like most of the people at your school, I was pre-med. And after shadowing a couple of physicians, they recommended against it. And I landed on dentistry my senior year of college. So I missed the whole application process, application cycle. So I took a year off. That's when I took my DATs and started applying to dental school. The year off was nice because it got me working in the real world and really created that drive that I wanted something better for myself. So did the whole application process, got into Pitt, and dental school is another beast as far as studying. First semester was 27 credits when full time when you're in college is 18. So it really is dedicate your life to it for those 4 years. It's you're still going to have fun, make a lot of friends and form relationships that'll last a lifetime. But that those 4 years is all about dentistry. After that, I didn't feel like I was ready to come out and practice on my own. So I decided to do a 1-year general practice residency at the VA hospital in Pittsburgh. They, at the time, were doing 4 residents, and that was probably the best decision I made for my dental career. I got to work one-on-one with the endodontist, the periodontist, the oral surgeon, and treat some of the most medically complex patients that are out there, VA patients. And that really made me comfortable to practice on my own and do the more involved, more profitable procedures. After finishing at the VA hospital, finishing the residency, moved back to my hometown, Bedford. I was supposed to buy private practice where I went growing up as a kid. Came out of dental school $316,000 in debt, and at that point didn't know how to run a business and was not prepared to take on more debt on top of the student loans. So after about a year there, the dentist that I was working with, I knew he was really looking to sell. So we decided to part ways at that point, and I moved to Hawaii, practiced down there for about a year and a half. Moved back to Pennsylvania, worked for Heartland Dental, one of the big corporate dental offices. They have over 1,000 offices across the country now. Got some experience working for them. Wasn't really my cup of tea, so moved back to Hawaii. Made it about a month that time, working for a small corporation. And at that point, an opportunity opened back in Bedford, the hometown, and that's when I bought my practice in 2018 and have been practicing there ever since.
Awesome. Yeah, so it definitely wasn't, it definitely was not a straight map.
No, it's every place you work along the way, you can see different practicing styles, from private practice to corporate, working for other people, working at a partnership. Everybody does things a little bit different. So it's nice to, I think, bounce around a little bit to figure out the way you want to practice and pick up those business skills along the way that you don't learn in dental school.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
How about you, Walter?
Oh man, so where should I start? Kyle had it easy compared to what I had to go through. So I've always wanted to be a dentist. Whenever I was born in Ghana, West Africa, I broke my teeth. I was playing soccer with my cousins. They tripped me. I was killing them, and they just hated the skill level, right? So basically, my cousin tripped me, hit my face for front 2 teeth on concrete, broke it, cracked it, right? Came to the US when I was 8 years old. Kids are really mean. You know what I mean? We all know this, right? So it wasn't until I was in 5th grade that my dentist, my pediatric dentist, Dr. Goldberg, and I still remember him, that's the kind of impact that he had in my life, because he was so cool. He was like, you know what, let me go ahead and fix this. He fixed my 2 front teeth. So now my teeth look normal, right? In my mind, they looked normal. Everything was great. Then, he was a cool guy. He let me do the whole laughing gas. It's very illegal now that I think about it. Should have never done that. But he was such a cool guy. Like, he was like, oh, you know what? This is what I do. And I was like, I want to be like this guy. Then I remember 6th grade, we had like a career week or whatever it was. And it was like, oh, what do you want to be? And I was like, I want to be like Dr. Goldberg. So I looked into dentistry and I saw how much they made. And I said, oh, I want to definitely be like Dr. Goldberg. That was a given. I was like, it's a wrap. I want to be Dr. Goldberg, right? Because I looked at it was like a chart of like basically all the careers. And I was like, dentist. And I see like 1, 2, 3, 4 money signs. I was like, yep, that's it right there. There it is. You know what I mean? So, but like, it was funny because I went and talked to him. He's like, yeah, absolutely. And then he was like, just don't forget about me, so forth. So, you go to college, University of Pittsburgh. And my first semester, I'm free, right? Like, if anybody knows, like, growing up in any foreign household, it's all about education, right? So I got my freedom when I went to college. That's, in my mind, I had my freedom. So I basically went crazy for the first semester, right? I failed biology 1. Okay, now mind you, you're a dentist, and I failed bio 1. And I remember my dad assuming that the only thing that it could be, not because I was partying or anything, because I'm doing drugs. He's like, he has to be doing drugs. That's the only explanation for why he went from being a straight A student in high school to failing a biology class in undergrad first semester. Mind you, I had taken AP bio and everything, killed it, right? So yeah. So anyway, I learned the lesson, and the mentor of mine, Gregory Allen, pulled me aside and said, Walter, do you want to go into dental? Because everybody knew I wanted to be a dentist. That's all I kept talking about. I have a big mouth. If you know me, everybody knows I have a big mouth. I tell everybody stuff they don't even ask me, right? So I was like, I want to be a dentist. So everybody knew that. So he pulled me aside and said, do you want to be a dentist or not? And I said, yeah, I do. He goes, then you need to get your beep together. I don't want to curse, right? Because, we're very family oriented here. So he said, you need to get your beep together. Right, Kyle. So then he basically said, you need to take bio 1 again, but you need to get your act together, and we need to see how you're going to improve. So sure enough, I always tell everybody, it's not really how you start, it's how you finish, right? And then be able to explain when you're applying for dental school, explain all the issues, right? Because we don't want perfection. No one's perfect. Right. We're all going to have issues. We're all going to have a bad semester. It's your ability to explain that issue, ability to kind of communicate to why we didn't do well and how you overcame it. Because like Dr. Dumpert said, dental school is not fun. It's not like hey, I go there and I'm high-fiving everybody and we graduate. That's not how it works, right? We take more and progressively more classes that are worth more, and we get put on a lot of stuff put on our shoulders, right? Not only are we taking lab courses, basically honing in your hand skills, you're also taking a lot of didactic, right? And you may have not, it's basically med school, but med school is easy. So that's the difference, right? Because like med school, they don't have to sit there and go to lab after they've taken 8 hours of didactic, have to go and work on, you know, models and cutting teeth and do all this other stuff, right? And so I always tell everybody, it's not really how you begin, it's how you end. So once I actually got through that and I applied for dental school, and we were talking about this before we started, but I just needed to get into one school. My goal was just one school. I applied to 10 schools. I was very blessed to have gotten interviewed to all of them, but I just wanted one yes. And I remember the day I got a yes from Pitt, and that was my first school that gave me a yes. I literally ran up the hill. And if you know Pittsburgh, there's a lot of hills. So I lived in the slums, basically where students that really can't afford anything. That's where we all live, down the hill. So I basically ran up the hill to the school, the dental school, to be like, hey, is this real? Like, did I get in? And that Rose Mangold and Dr. Etzel were there, and they're like, yeah, you got in. Well, I was like, no, don't play with my emotions right now. Did I get in? You know, because it's like been something that I've been wanting to do for so long that when I got in, I was so excited, right? And then you go through dental school and you get beaten up a lot. I'll be honest, you get beaten up, but it's the key. The key is to just basically remember, one, you did this to yourself. I always tell everybody, you did this to you. No one said you had to do dental. You chose this path. So once you remember that, anytime you're down, no matter what you're doing, anytime you're down, you always say to yourself, I did this to myself. Because that really kind of re-engages you to understand that it's okay. I chose this. I wanted to do this. No one forced me to do this, right? There was no tyrant or anybody, even my own African parents didn't force me. I chose this path, right? And so in the end, that's exactly what you need to remind yourself, that you chose to do this, right? So now that we did this, we get through dental school. I did exactly the same thing that Dr. Dumpert did. I said, and I was a cocky little, SOB, but I was like, I'm good, but I could be better. So I was like, I want to know who is the best. And I found an oral surgeon that went to the VA that was incredible, Dr. Demas. And I found a prosto, Dr. Rodriguez, that was really incredible with his hand skills and everything. And I wanted to mimic them. So I went through that residency, and I thought, it was the best decision I've ever made in my life. The best decision, because I wanted to be a general dentist. I think general dentistry is the hardest profession in the world because you have to be so good at everything. If you want to be a really good general dentist, you have to be good at everything. If you want to be a crappy general dentist, just do dentistry. That's it. Just if you want to be crappy, just barely get through. I don't care. But if you want to be excellent, you have to really be good at everything. Dr. Dumpert, he undermined his achievements. He's done so much in continuing education. So much. He's incredible at what he does, but he's taken that time to do that. You see what I mean? And so I actually, after the residency, I worked a year with a corporate. Okay. And I realized that surgery was where I felt home, right? That was the time where I would play my music and my slow jams. If anybody knows me, I play slow jams when I do surgery. So I would play my slow jams and I felt good. And that's when I realized, okay, you know what? This surgery thing might be something I need to look into. But I was able to do the same surgeries that I'm doing now in that residency. Kyle, you did the same thing. You did crown lengthenings, you did osseous surgeries. Yep. So we were able to do that in that residency. So I already knew I liked it. It was just a matter of continuing to learn more about it. And that's why I went through the residency. And then once I was done, I came down to Houston and basically opened up a business where I partner up with different offices. From general dentist office, I go and I basically I partner with them and I lend out and do basically like a 1099 where I go and I do the surgery, and then I say, okay, you take a percentage and I take a percentage. So I'm using their facility to do my surgery. And I travel around and do that for different offices. Initially I actually wanted to go and work for periodontist, But he was the one that actually told me, listen, it's busy here, when it comes to a lot of periodontists, and I don't know if I have the time or the effort to kind of train you. And he also said, I don't even know if I have enough patience for you. So I said, okay, I appreciate it. He was a great guy. And he's like, why don't you try some of the things that I'm hearing? And he put it all out there. And I said, okay. It was not easy. I had to build it up, right? I had to get my name out there so people could at least say, hey, who the heck is this guy coming in thinking he's as great as he really thinks he is, So it was very slow. And that was the one thing that I learned when I moved to Houston. Because I moved to Houston, I'll still remember this. I moved to Houston with $500 in my pocket. You know what I mean? And that my girlfriend at the time, now wife, basically was like, yeah, you're poor. And I was like, I know. but I mean, I slept in an air mattress. I remember for like 3 months, what I mean? But I was like, I'm gonna just work temporarily. And I actually was, as a specialist, I was working as a general dentist. So I was temping as a general dentist, but it allowed me to, one, appreciate what I have, and two, it allowed me to get my name out there, because the same places that I went to temp, they would refer to me now. You see, so there's so many different ways, and I say all this to stop talking soon, I promise. There's so many different ways to get to whatever you're doing, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be, oh, I had this path, like Kyle said, I had this path and it didn't go my way, so I give up. Right. No, it's I have this path and it didn't go my way, but I can, derail a little bit. But make sure that I'm still staying in that path that I had in front of me, and that goes with me when it came to failing bio, when it came to, not knowing if I wanted to do general dentistry or specialize. There's so many different things that come up, and I want you guys to understand that you're so young. You guys, I mean, Kyle and I wish we were as young as you guys. We could have made, we could rule the world, because you guys have you have an opportunity to talk to people who are old and decrepit like Kyle. And no, I'm young, right? and then be able to get that feedback and learn from us, you know what I mean? And ask us any question in the world. I promise you, if anybody knows and listens to the podcast, we're very honest. I mean, good or bad, we're honest. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking so you guys can.
I want to just add on to, whenever I was applying to dental school, don't do it the way I did. I kind of looked at where I wanted to live in the country and just picked a dental school based on that. I didn't do any metrics or how many out of state, how many in state are they taking, because I had been bouncing around, living from a ski resort in Montana to the beaches of North Carolina. I was just enjoying life for that year off. But I applied to 9 schools, I think. One of them called me and said, Case Western in Ohio called and said, you have an interview in 2 weeks. I was living in Montana at the time. I was, well, I don't really have the money for a plane ticket. Can we push that back a couple of weeks? And they said, no, you either take it or you leave it. And I said, I'm going to have to leave it. So I didn't even show up to that interview. IUP, the school I went to, had a partnership with Temple where we were supposed to have preferential treatment. I thought I had a pretty strong application, went and interviewed with them, never heard anything from them. I sent them an email over the summer saying, hey, this is, about me. I think I'm a pretty good candidate. Why haven't I heard back from you guys? And they emailed me back shortly after saying, basically you have a position available on the wait list, because they had already filled everything up. So it's, I took it as they get so many applications that sometimes you get overlooked. So if you really want to go somewhere, you got to be persistent. You got to follow up with them, see what's going on, because maybe your application did get overlooked. I did get, my one acceptance was from Pitt. So that was actually driving back from Temple. I was able to get an acceptance from Pitt. So I needed that one school, and Pitt was my one school that accepted me. So that's all you need. So when you're applying, look at the metrics, look at how many they take in-state versus out-of-state. If you get the choice between several dental schools, look at the cost, look at the tuition, because money is, it's a big thing. Most of what you learn in dental school is obsolete by the time you graduate. And most of your learning takes place after dental school, after you graduate, where you're, you can focus where you want to go as far as what you want to do with it. And, difference of $150,000, $200,000, depending on which school you go to, makes a big difference in the long run.
Yeah. And let me, man, I said I was going to stop talking, but Kyle got me on.
We're not going to let
schools.
you guys answer any questions. We're just going to.
No. You know what it is? You brought up dental schools, and if anybody knows me, I hate dental schools. The reason I hate them is because they've basically said, we're going to hold captive your education and charge you ridiculous amounts of money to go do a program and to do something that you guys probably are really passionate about. I mean, to come out of a school with $500,000 plus worth of debt, that's a beautiful house. If you come to Texas, that's a mansion, and you basically aren't guaranteed anything. If they told you, hey, you graduate and you are guaranteed to pay that back off in 5 years, I say that's a beautiful guarantee. Thank you. But that's not the case. They just say, hey, we taught you something. Good luck. We taught you 20% of the stuff so that you don't hurt anybody. Good luck, and that's my biggest issue. And so that's why I tell everybody who I mentor, I say, honestly, the school does not matter unless you really are into research. If you're into research, sure. Penn, Columbia, Pitt, some of the California schools are doing beautiful research in the field of dentistry. If you're not into research that much, it does not matter what school you get into. Just get into one school and get into the cheapest school you can possibly get in. The cheapest. I promise you guys, I'm not going to say anything, but those California schools are not cheap, guys. I'll be honest with you. You do that because you have family there and you can maybe live at home, but they're not cheap at all, but get into the cheapest school you can. That's the only advice I would really say nowadays. You know what I mean? And gas is $5 in Cali. So I don't even know why anybody wants to go to California right now.
So I have a few comments. You guys are bringing up awesome stuff. So we can get to Q&A session, but these are 2 points that I actually wanted to talk about. So right now I'm looking at schools, and research is something I'm interested in. I think it's a lot of focus for Hopkins students. But for example, let's say UPenn. That's one of the schools I was considering applying to, and probably will. But if you look at their costs, they're charging estimated $128,000 per year, which is it's tough to as a 21-year-old sign up for that. So it's interesting that you said consider applying to cheaper schools. That makes me think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, it should.
Yeah.
And then I know.
And what you were saying, in the long run, if you're not going research, does that fancy school, does it make much of a difference? I know we talk a lot, we have in our club that schools like that, they have a high specialty. If you want to specialize, they're better at placing you. But I don't know if that's fact or fiction. They like to talk about that, but it's interesting that you brought that up.
Yeah, well, so I don't know if that's actually true. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of schools have gone to not ranking students anymore, right? Because in dental school, Kyle, you can jump in if you want, but in our class, we were ranked from 1 to 80, right?
Yep.
So if you don't have any ranking and everything's pass fail, the only thing you have is basically your name, right? And some schools, I'm sure, if you apply for specialty, they might say, oh, this kid came from UPenn, so they're special. Or this kid came from Harvard, so they're special. But I honestly think the only reason why they're saying that is because they come from such a high research school that you're basically saying, I'm probably going to come to your school and I'm going to do research as well. And a lot of schools make most of their money from research grants and endowments. You know what I mean? So if you're doing research and that research brings in, let's just say $100 million, you're special to that school. I don't care who you are, you're special to that school. If you want to do research or do research in undergrad that will basically bring, I don't know, we'll say biomechanics, and you find a different way of us using composite, amalgam, or whatever it may be, right? You are now special because then some company will pay you to do that research in that school. So that school gets some money as well. So
Mhm.
maybe that's why specialists, some of these schools are accepting kids from other, from the, Harvards and the Columbias and stuff, because they want to do research. But I don't know if that's like a guarantee, a 1-for-1. Like, hey, if you go to this school, you're guaranteed to specialize. That's not the case at all.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And then another thing Dr. Dumpert said about considering looking at the preferences of like state schools to like in-state residents. Another school that was on my list was UNC, and I looked up that information, and they take about 80 kids. 65 of those kids are North Carolina residents. So you're competing for 15 seats in the entire country. So it's tough. But then that
And it's not
forces
cheap
you.
to apply to dental schools. Each, you're paying for the application fees generally, plus each school has their own admission or fees that they charge for an application.
Yeah.
The travel to pay to go to those schools if you do get an interview. So those costs add up quick.
Yeah, it's very expensive. And then you consider like the fact that a lot of the state schools give preference to in-state residents, then that kind of pushes you to apply to private schools, which are then more expensive. So it's a tough situation. And then my last thing that I wanted to bring up, Dr. Ackah mentioned it about Dr. Dumpert, but you've done a lot with like continued education. I know we've talked a lot about your time. You did I believe it was the Academy of General Dentistry. You did their like Mag D award. And then I know you work the business side of things with the company as well. So I wanted to ask if you would talk a little bit about what that looks like.
Like I said, dental school gives you really the bare minimum. I'm going to jump back to something else to consider when picking dental schools is seeing how much experience that you can get in clinic. A lot of dental schools with cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, a lot of procedures aren't covered quite as much anymore, depending on the state. So there are students that are graduating with, they've only done one root canal and it's been on a plastic tooth, not a real patient. There's maybe they've only done one crown on a live patient and the rest have been on plastic teeth because the patients aren't there to support it. So when you're doing interviews at these schools, the school is interviewing you, but you're also interviewing the school to see, this $128,000 that I'm going to pay you per year, what kind of experience am I going to get out of that? But with getting that bare minimum education from dental school, after doing my residency, my director, Dr. Sullivan, really instilled in me the importance of continuing education, because the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, and it pushes you to continue to learn more and more. As a general dentist, like Walter said, you can pretty much do whatever you want. I can do all of the same procedures that Dr. Ackah does. I can do all the same stuff an oral surgeon does, and endodontist. But the caveat is I have to do it at the same level as they do, or I'm not meeting that standard of care. So to get that, without going to residency, you have to go through the continuing education. You have to train yourself to be able to do those procedures. So you're not setting yourself up for a lawsuit, and two, you're doing a good job for the patient. So the route I took, the Academy of General Dentistry, there's two main membership organizations. There's the American Dental Association and the Academy of General Dentistry. The ADA, American Dental Association, is really a body that covers all dentists, all specialists, all under that one brand name of American Dental Association. The Academy of General Dentistry is just that. They represent general dentists and they push continuing education. So they have a fellowship award, fellowship with the Academy of General Dentistry. You have to pass a test, you have to be a member for a couple years, and you have to get 200 hours of continuing education. In Pennsylvania, to stay licensed as a dentist, every 2 years, you have to have 30 hours of continuing education. So that's kind of the baseline that every dentist in Pennsylvania has to do. Every state has their own requirements to stay licensed. But once you get that fellowship, 200 additional hours after you graduate. That helps to set you apart from other dentists, shows that you're really committed to continuing education. After that, you can go for your master's. That is an additional 500 hours of continuing education, and it's broken down into each category of dentistry. You have to have so many hours of oral surgery, of periodontics, of implants, of orthodontics. Really just shows that you're a well-rounded dentist who's spent time in all of the fields as far as continuing education goes. And being a part of that organization has helped me achieve those milestones and pushes me to go to the next level and continue to learn more to help out more people. As far as the business side, what kind of questions did you have in mind for that?
We can hopefully get into that a little bit more. I know in my time at your office, like, I think something that still I'm hung up on, and obviously I'm very far from buying a practice, but the business side of things, like we're all science majors, and we don't think about that, but taking out business loans, actually buying a practice, all the different types of insurance you have to pay, all the different things you do with paying employees. It's a lot to think about. So
just a brief overview of that. As a dentist coming out of school, it's pretty easy to get a job with corporate dental, making a guaranteed $120,000 a year. That's what I would consider would be your base minimum as a general dentist. That is just okay with what you do. With dentistry, Howard Fran knows the statistic. He has a magazine called Dental Town, does a podcast also, Decisions in Dentistry, but he breaks it down into, as a general dentist, it's $120,000 a year. If you are a specialist, figure you make an extra $100,000 on average across the country. If you own your own practice, you earn an extra $100,000 on top of that. So if you want to specialize, you're going to make more money. The oral surgeons make the most. I think they average around $450,000 a year, and then the rest of them go down from there. As a business owner, you're taking on additional risk by being your own boss, and taking on, running a business. But it also, if you do it, you don't even have to do it well in dentistry. Dentistry is a pretty forgiving area. The default rate on loans for a dentist is very low. I think it's under 5%. So if you have a business as a dentist and you're okay at what you do, you're going to make it. But if you even just have a basic knowledge of looking at numbers and figuring out, am I making money doing this procedure, or am I not making money doing this procedure? If you figure out those basics, you really have, the world at your fingertips as far as what you can make. And I honestly believe that with the debt that people are coming out of dental school with, $400,000+ really the only pathway that I see in paying that back is either one, student loan forgiveness through some of the government programs that are available, whether it's working for public health, or there's other repay options where after 30 years of making payments based on your income, the balance is forgiven minus whatever money gets forgiven. Side note, you get taxed on the end for whatever money gets forgiven. So it's still not free money. But if you're not going one of those routes or military paying for things, I really think the only way to pay for your dental school coming out that much in debt is to own your business and really be in control of your own income.
Can I just say one thing? It's great to own your own practice. The freedom is there, right? I don't have to answer to anybody.
Freedom. I know freedom. You're
Oh,
locked
Kyle,
to that place.
stop
You
it.
are
You just
locked to that place.
you just went to Florida. Shut up. You know? Like, he took his whole team to Florida. Like, if anybody that listened to the last episode, we're all jealous of you, right? But one thing I'm going to tell you is this, right? Not everybody's a business person. Not everybody has a business mindset, right? A lot of people are just like with anything, right? Dentists are very detail oriented when it comes to the stuff we care about. If you don't care about business, do not go open your own business. It's stressful. It's a pain, right? It's not fun 80% of the time, right? But you have to enjoy it and say, I'm doing this again, right? I'm doing this. One, I did it to myself. I always want you guys to repeat that. I did this to myself, right? And then the second thing is you're doing it because you know in the end you don't want to answer to anybody. That's the biggest benefit. Kyle, what do you think? The biggest benefit is I don't have to answer to anybody, right?
Yeah.
But having a business is not like I go around high-fiving everybody. Most of the time I'm the bad guy. If I'm yelling at somebody, if I'm talking to a patient, if I'm dealing, I'm the bad guy most of the time. You know what I mean? And then, even when you go on vacation, like Kyle did, I'm sure he was thinking, okay, who's calling the office? If he goes on vacation, who's paying his assistants? Who's paying his front office? Who's paying, so everything kind of hits you, right? And if you just don't have that mentality, do not do business, because there's so many other ways you could do very well in dentistry without owning your own practice, right? Or averages. Everything's an average. I know a lot of people that do very well, and I ask, hey, why don't you go open your own practice? And they tell me, I just don't want to deal with the headache. I get to go home and not have to worry about this office, right? So not everybody has to open a practice. I kind of wish Howard would preface everything by starting out with, not everybody is a business owner and not everybody has to own a practice, because you can do just well finding different ways, right? I know a general dentist who basically travels from office to office because he took a lot of CEs and he does thirds. He basically does sedation and does third molars. He does not have an office. He just basically rents offices. You could do that. You don't have to be stagnant in one area. There's so many. You just have to be clever at what you do. You have to be clever and say, what do I want from my life, right? So again, you don't have to be a business owner, right? Like my wife, I wouldn't want her to be a business owner. And the reason why, because she's amazing. Her team loves her and everything. But I could never see her fire anybody. I could never in my life see my wife firing anybody. She's so nice to everybody. I'm that angry guy, like I'll fire somebody in a heartbeat. It is what it is. You didn't do your job. Yeah, I can cut it down to that level. But she's friends with everybody. So I'm like, you should not have your own business, because she would feel bad. Even if someone's not doing their job, she'll be like, well, maybe they're having a hard time. Right? That's not a good way to run a business. You know what I mean? So you got to think about yourself and your personality first, if that makes any sense.
There's a lot of unhappy dentists out there, and whether that's because of their lifestyle that they've created for themselves, where they want to be part of the private country club, they want to own the mansion, they want to drive the Beamers and stuff, where they're stuck working because of the life they've set up for themselves. They have to work to make those payments. But there's such a range of what you can do in dentistry, from corporate to private practice to traveling dentist to go work on a cruise ship to maybe you want to
Army, Navy, Air Force.
It's such a profession that there's a way to make yourself happy doing it, because that option is available. And once you get that degree from the dental school, it's really, like Walter said, it's how creative can you get, and you're in control of your own destiny at that point.
Yeah. It's a passport to do what you want to do. Yep. Within the law, of course.
Right.
You got to preface it by within the law, of course. You know what I mean? Any questions, guys?
Yeah, feel free. Everyone else, I've been taking up a lot of the question time, so feel free to ask away.
Sorry, Eric, you go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So you guys mentioned a lot about your experiences working in like private practice, but also in corporate dentistry in different settings. So I was wondering if you could talk about like the cultural differences you see working in like hospital setting, corporate setting, private practice setting, just in general, how does the environment affect how you practice?
Do you want to start with this one, Walter?
It's so funny. Again, I keep bringing our podcast up, but we just had this conversation. We just had it in a previous conversation. If you don't know, if you just listen to Truth Be Told, Dr. Dumpert and I just had this conversation about what's happening in dentistry, right? Because it seems like a mass exodus for assistants, front office, other dentists, and so forth. And Dr. Dumpert and I came to the conclusion after sitting there talking for a while that the culture in the office matters a lot. Who wants to go to an environment that they're miserable at all the time, right? Yeah. Who wants to work for a boss that hates you, right? No one does. Who would want that environment? So when you say environment, you're literally basically saying, would I like to leave my family to go to another place, for 8 hours just to be miserable? No one wants to do that. Right. So the culture is huge. I don't care where you work, if you're working in a hospital, private practice, corporations, whatever. If you're not happy in that environment, one, you're not going to do well. Two, you're going to be stressed all the time. And then three, you're going to quit. Because in the end, dentistry, you can literally get up one day and go to another office and find another job. There is no shortage of people that need dentists. If you really want to do dentistry, you want to do well, go to the middle of nowhere. I can guarantee you'll have tons of patients because they need you, right? So the need for dentists is still there. It's just a matter of, do you really want to deal with all the BS, right? And I don't think anybody wants to do that. So Kyle brought it up last time where he said, the culture is all about what you make it. In his office, he talks about culture a lot. Kyle?
Right. To answer your question a little bit, since Walter didn't.
I did not. I lectured a lot.
Based on experiences of hospital dentistry at the VA versus corporate dentistry versus private practice, those cultural differences or that experience working there, VA hospital or any hospital, you're going to run into bureaucracy. So there are lots of paperwork, lots of boxes to check, lots of, your boss at the hospital or corporate, your boss isn't going to be a dentist that has any clinical experience. They're going to be looking at the numbers or some other aspect of it when maybe you just want to pay attention to, we got to do what's right for the patient. Somebody that owns that hospital, owns that business is going to say, well, we need you to do $10,000 a day when you're only doing $6,000 a day. So you need to find some extra work to do. In the hospital setting at the VA, it's a government-run facility, so there's bureaucracy on top of bureaucracy on top of bureaucracy. So there's those hoops you have to jump through. You can't, if there's a new product out that you want to try, new bone graft material, a new composite, new filling material, being at a VA hospital or a government-run thing, they have to go through several channels to approve what is able to be used on a patient. Corporations, my experience at corporate is they have deals with different suppliers that they get, instead of paying $300 for a bonding agent or the glue that holds the filling in, they can get a bulk order from one supplier and pay maybe $75 instead of that $300. So they're looking at the business side of it, and that's where you can pick up some of that business experience if you work for a corporate, where you're looking at the numbers and seeing how the business of dentistry is. In private practice, you get more autonomy where you can, if you're working for somebody else, maybe your only boss is the owner dentist. Once you become owner, you make all the decisions. If I want to try a new product, I get out the credit card, it's there tomorrow, and I can try it right away on somebody. So you go from very controlled environment of a hospital or a VA setting to do it, you're in charge of whatever you want to do in private practice if you're your own owner. But like Walter said, culture is everything. It's all on what you're looking for. I do set up, I talk to my team a lot about culture because I want people to be happy working there. I want patients to see that we're a well-oiled team that works well together. Have you ever walked into a business and you're like, something's off here because, you know, the employees are just not happy. They're fighting, whatever. That's not a business that you want to be in. And that's definitely not somewhere where you want to have your health care or have yourself be taken care of. So I'm not the smartest person in the room ever. I don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to surround myself with a team that can do things better than I can, that can, I have an outside coaching consultant through Fortune Management that they come in and they help me to create this culture with my team. I have an accounting firm that I use that does all of my financial stuff, whether it's business accounting, retirement accounts. That's their forte. They know that stuff. I have the PAGD group, the AGD group that I'm a part of. Those are some of the smartest dentists in Pennsylvania. So I learned from them. So you can create a team outside of your own dental team that can help coach you and make you better, where you can learn from other people, or you can offload that stuff on somebody else that's going to do it a lot better than you can.
Let me just interject and say I somewhat disagree with some of the stuff Dr. Dumpert said.
Of course, that's why we have these conversations.
Let me break it down and say I think he kind of did a broad, brushstroke when it came to corporate, private practice and the VA, right? I know for sure at the VA we got a lot of stuff. We got a chance to try a lot of stuff, right? He's right. You have to fill a lot of paperwork. But it almost seems like they have a really deep treasure chest of finances, right? Good or bad, right? Because as a government, there's a lot of waste there. Don't get Kyle started with the government, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, right, he talked about corporate and private practice. Let's be completely honest. If you're in private practice or if you're in corporate, unless you own your own, right, they're both going to really be kind of penny pinching when it comes to what you can have. I can't go to somebody's office as an associate and say, hey, I want a laser, a $100,000 laser. I don't care if it's corporate or private practice. They're going to look at me like I'm crazy, right? So it's not like all of a sudden you're in private practice and you get whatever you want because they want you to do well and excel and all. They're still looking at numbers. Right. And that's why so you got to remember, like in the end, everybody's still looking at numbers because one, the general dentist that owns that private practice is saying, hey, how can I make the most money? Right. And the corporation is saying, how can I make the most money? Sometimes I can't even see the difference between the two. Right. But if you own your own practice and you know what's in the war chest, then you can say, you know what, I deserve a new laser. Then you go buy your new laser and no one can tell you. I can never tell Kyle to not go buy a laser or to not go buy an implant system or whatever he wants to do because it's his money. You see what I mean? So really in the end, it's who you answer to. Because in the end, most people are still going to say, hey, I control the money. I control the finances. So just be careful of that.
When it comes to if you are working for somebody, that's where a little bit of the business expense or business experience comes into play. When I moved to Hawaii to work at the private office down there, there was certain endodontic or root canal instruments that I wanted, that I was comfortable with, that I was trained with, that amounted to about $5,000 worth of equipment. One is an electric motor handpiece. One is a unit for filling up the inside of the tooth when you're doing a root canal. And they were very hesitant, you're not even working here yet and you're asking for, $5,000+ of equipment. But when you look at it as, well, if I do a root canal and I'm going to get, if you participate with insurance and you're going to get reimbursed $800 of that root canal, and you're going to give me 35% of that money, you're going to get 65% of that money. I only have to do a certain number of root canals before you start breaking even. After that, you're making money. If we don't this piece of equipment and I'm not comfortable doing root canals without it, then you're never going to get that return of investment. So it's not buy whatever you want, but if you look at it and approach it from a business aspect, like this is an investment, this is how much it's going to make you in the long run, or this is how long it's going to take to pay it off, that helps to, further your case on why it's a good investment for them to spend that money on you.
Any other questions? I hope we answered that. I don't know if we did, Kyle.
We were all over the place with that one.
We were.
Andrew, you had one?
Yeah, so I have kind of two, but I'll touch on one right now. Since we were just talking a little bit about how finance is a big part of dentistry and running your business, I was wondering, though this may be maybe slightly personal, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but what you would maybe consider as your maybe worst financial decision during your journey through dentistry, and also maybe probably your best financial decision.
I'll start, unless Walter wants to. The coming out of dental school, you can't wait to start working and making money, because those student loans are going to come due. You get a 6-month grace period, and then you've got $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 payment per month that you're looking at. So you can't wait to start making money. Whenever you start signing contracts, really understand what you're signing, what you're going to make. Best financial decision is keep track of everything that you do and what you expect to be paid. So as an associate dentist, whether it's private, some corporations, but you're not paid on what you do, you're paid on how much of that money is actually collected. So if you're doing, $1,000 a day in dentistry, but the business is very bad at collecting that money, and they're only collecting 500 of it, you're only getting paid on that $500. You're not getting paid on that 1,000. There are some places that will pay based on what you produce, but most of them, it's based on what is collected under your name. So one of the best things is pay attention to what you do. If there's multiple dentists in the practice, make sure when things are getting billed out, it's billed out under your name and not somebody else's, so that somebody else isn't getting credit for your work. Because with computer systems, it's all set up to be billed out per provider. When I worked for other people, I would print out a day sheet of everything I did that day, and I would go through and check everything off the list, and I'd keep track of payments coming in, and I'd go back and cross off things as they got paid for, because insurance has a 30 to 60-day lag of getting paid. So understanding what you do, where your money is, how much of your money is coming in, having that understanding gives you a better grasp of how much money you're actually making. Understanding the contracts, I took a financial hit by going to work for corporate dentistry. That was a kind of a unique situation where there were some managers that were getting switched around at the time, but I made more money in private practice than I did in corporate dentistry. What I didn't make at that corporate dental office, I was able to get more education. I was able to learn more of the business side of dentistry. So even though it wasn't there in my paycheck, I got the experience that made up for that.
Okay, for me, I think the biggest mistake that I ever made was not basically counting on myself, right? So I finished at the VA, and my first job was with a corporate, and I'll say Aspen Dental. And I remember when we went to negotiation, and there wasn't much of a negotiation. It was kind of like very, very. It was sad, actually. Now that I think about it, I didn't negotiate much, but it was basically like, oh, we can give you a guaranteed salary, which at the time for me, it was 160,000. And I was like, that's what I want, because I remember looking at numbers and going, oh, most dentists make 120. I get 160. I'm rich, right? I should have said, or if I basically get a percentage of what I produce, because by the end of the year, and Kyle said it best, he goes, I kept track of everything. By the end of the year, I had produced $1.2 million for them. Now, imagine if I would have taken 25% of that.
Yeah.
I would actually be looking at about $300,000 that year, almost double what I guaranteed for myself. So the one thing I always tell everybody, and that was actually, fast forward till now, I basically say, I don't give a crap about your guarantee. I'm getting a percentage because I know what I can do.
Right.
You see what I mean? Because you're motivated, you know what you can do for yourself. You know, some people are like, well, aren't you excited about it? No, I don't care about it. Your guarantee means nothing to me, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm planning on working harder than that guarantee. So I want to be compensated accordingly. So count on yourself. So that was something that I learned. And I learned that, and I took my L's on that, but I came back and I said, okay, at least I learned something to move forward. And the best thing that I ever learned was finance, right? I learned about the stock market. I learned about how to save. I learned about, crypto. I learned about all this stuff, because in the end, as dentists, I'll speak for myself. I don't want to work like this for the rest of my life. I want to basically be where Kyle was, on some island, in Florida, and still be making money, right? That's in the end what you want to do. So learning about finance, and you guys are so young. I always tell my brothers, man, I wish I was your age with the knowledge that I have now. My God, I'd be killing it. You know what I mean? Because in the end, even if you save $100 every single month and put it towards investing in some kind of stock that I don't know what you guys like, TikTok and all this other stuff, but imagine Nike. Let's just put $100 in Nike every single month. You'd kill it by the time you're 60 years old. Do you see what I'm saying? Because compounding interest. And that's something that I wish I would have learned earlier. So again, I finally learned it, and it's like, oh, thank God we learned it. Kyle and I, we talk a lot about different things that we're invested in and so forth. But the first thing I learned was, again, bet on yourself. Don't bet on anybody else but yourself. No. The second thing is learn about finances so you can make money when you're not working. Enjoy life,
man. That was a great question, Andrew. Just so everyone knows, if you need to run, don't feel like you need to stay. So if you need to head out, and also Dr. Dumpert and Dr. Ackah, we don't want to keep you all night. So whenever you guys need to head out, just let us know.
We're good, man. We're good.
Yeah. And we'll cut we'll maybe answer shorter. Our answers will be a little shorter. So yeah.
No, you're good. Does anyone else have any questions? Andrew, feel free. Did you have another one, Andrew?
Yeah, just like a quick question, because during shadowing, a couple of dentists have recommended me some books or some programs or kind of articles or things to read. I was wondering if you guys had any recommendations on maybe some book, because I've been recommended things like the White Coat Investor or stuff like that I know a lot of dentists have recommended. I was wondering if you guys had any recommendations.
I guess the first thing you want to do is I'm big on podcasts, so I listen to a lot of podcasts on everything, and I also have Audible now, which is amazing to me. Like, I wish I would have had Audible a long time, because I sound smarter when I listen to somebody read stuff, and then I go, "Oh, did you guys know?" And they think I know way more than I really do. I just listen to a bunch of books. You know what I mean? So I would absolutely, find podcasts that interest you. Find something outside of dentistry. You'll get enough dentistry. Find something outside of dentistry to keep your interest, because again, in the end, you want to retreat back to that. So I don't know. I'm all over the place when it comes to the stuff I do now. I'll read Barron's magazine, which is about finances. I'll turn around and read what's his name? The guy that does a daily show, South African guy. Oh man, he has a book. It's actually a really good book that I just finished listening to. So there's so many different ways to go, man. Whatever interests you, go ahead. If you're you like surfing like Kyle does,
Yeah.
Listen more about that. I mean, there's so much.
I wouldn't worry about over the next 4 years being in dental school, of trying to immerse yourself even more in dentistry than what dental school is going to put you in. Dental school is 8 hours of class a day. Go try to get time to get some food in you, and then you're going to do 8 hours of studying. And on weekends, you're going to study 12 to 14 hours a day minimum.
Right.
So you're going to have all the information. It's, as they say, it's like taking a sip from a water hose or a fire hose. They're going to bombard you with information on dentistry. So like Walter said, find something that you're able to de-stress from dentistry, something that you enjoy, whether it's watching movies or listening to reading books that are leisure reading. After dental school, you mentioned White Coat Investor. That's a big one. It goes into, if you manage your finances right, that will put you in a position where, like Walter said, you don't have to do dentistry forever. You can if you want to, but it gives you the option to maybe do something else whenever you're done sitting in a dental chair or sitting next to the dental chair and want to do something else. It gives you the option if you manage your finances right, because being in the top 5% or top 1% of earners in the country, as most dentists are, you're going to have the income to be able to do what you want with your life, as long as you don't waste it and spend it on things that without getting that retirement, that financial foundation set for yourself for the long term.
Yeah. It's funny. My brother actually recommended an anime for me to watch recently. And I did. And it's called Demon Slayer. I had no clue about this. Now I feel cool because when I talk to people, they know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, I watch that. You know what I mean? So again, whatever you're into, absolutely, like music or whatever, immerse yourself in that, because I promise you, like there are nights where I'll sit there and read articles, right? And I'm like, man, I'm a loser, but I love it, right? Because I can go and do something else, come back, and I'll watch a surgery case that somebody presented, or I'll watch I don't know, there's so many different things. Dentistry is always going to be there. Do something outside of dentistry, man. Enjoy yourself and enjoy this moment. You guys are so young, man. Like, enjoy this moment. You're about to start something that's really, really wonderful, man. Don't be miserable. Don't be bitter. Again, you did this to yourself, so enjoy it. You know what I mean? Have fun with it, please.
I'm a big fan of all the self-help stuff as far as building yourself as a person. So you want to take care of your body. You only get one body. So, exercise, eat right, treat it well. So dentistry, you don't think of it as being a physical job, but it's very physical. You're bent over a chair. You're working upside down with a mirror, drowned in lots of water and spray, and in a tiny little dark cavity where 0.5 millimeter can be a big deal. That strain on your body, of your eyes, your neck, your back, the healthier you are, the better you take care of yourself, the longer you're able to do something that you want to do. Self-help or self-improvement books and podcasts. I'm a fan of Tony Robbins. I'm a fan of some of the classic books are Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You're going to be, as dentists going into dental school, they select us to be the smartest people going in. And sometimes the smartest people don't always have the best personalities as far as being able to talk to people. With dentistry, people will say yes, and when they trust you. If they don't trust you, if you can't talk to people, you could be the best dentist in the world, but if nobody's ever going to say yes to the things you recommend, then you're really not a good dentist at all, because all that disease doesn't get treated. They walk out your door. So learn how to talk to people, relate to people. So if you're not naturally gifted in that area, those are some potential books, podcasts, YouTube videos, things you can watch to improve those areas where you can be more relatable to people, show that empathy, show that you really care about people.
Or
dentistry,
just talk to people.
Yeah.
It's
talk to
just
people.
literally just go up to somebody, just, oh, what are you doing? And have a conversation, being able to, because every single day somebody sits in your chair, you don't know that person,
Yep.
right? But you figure a way to have conversations that kind of break the ice. You're not going to sit in the chair and be like, okay, so you got a cavity number 3, and like, who's going to approach somebody like that, right? Hey, Mrs. Smith, how's everything going? Oh yeah, I remember you talked about this last time. How's that going? You basically ease into what they're there for, but you need to be able to talk to people. So just talk to random people. I do that all the time. It looks weird, but it's okay with me. You know what I mean? I'm a weird guy. Hey, what's going on? My wife tells me to stop talking to random people, but I'm okay. You know what I mean? I love talking to people. I think it's fun. I really enjoy just having conversations. And Kyle said it best. The most successful dentists, the people that really do well, are the people that literally can just talk to anybody and get people to understand where they're coming from and explaining stuff. Guys, explain stuff as if you were talking to a child. Not to insult anybody's intelligence, but if you can talk to me and all you use are key dental terms, that's great. I know what you're talking about. But no one knows what you're talking about, right? If you have to explain, gum disease, periodontal disease, and you just use all these big words, yeah, you sound smart, but no one knows what the heck you're talking about. So how good were you at relaying that information to your patient, right? Sounding smart doesn't mean anything to anybody but you. You know what I mean? So learn how to basically talk to people. Common language. I love analogies. I use analogies all the time when I'm talking to my patients, So
Thank you so much.
it's all good.
I have one thing I wanted to say, because I just feel like this is almost ending. But I just wanted to say that this has been the most interesting, thing I've listened to. You guys are very amusing to listen to, and I definitely will check out your podcast later tonight. But I just wanted to say thank you, because I realized I didn't know a lot of things about dentistry, and hearing about what you guys have to say, definitely, I was texting my friend, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to dental school now. I was like, okay, I've decided now. Because I was a little wary about it, but definitely this helped a lot. So thank you so much for that.
Awesome.
And can I just say, please, get a hold of us. Email us. I'll give you my phone number. I don't care. I'm sure Kyle will do the same thing. We'll love to mentor you guys. Honestly, any question, as you can see, I don't care. I'll answer any question. You know what I mean? Text us, call us, email us. It does not matter at all. I'm not going to give you my number here because I have at least 100 people listening to us. I'm pretty popular. I don't want, I don't want creepsters calling me. You know what I mean? But offline, please. Honestly, we joke, but seriously, guys, you guys are the future. We want to do whatever little we can to get you guys going the right direction, because we truly believe that dentistry is. I say dentistry is the best career I've ever. I mean, I wouldn't even know what to do, Kyle. Would you know what to do outside of that? I would. No. I know I could never be. I could be Denzel Washington. I get it, but it's Denzel and then me. I don't know. We don't know you, right? But in the end, you guys, the key is you got to do what makes you happy, and truly, dentistry for me, I'll speak for myself, makes me happy. That's why I do a podcast about dentistry. And you know what I mean? If I hated it, I wouldn't be talking more about it. That's why we're talking to you guys, because you guys motivate us to continue to do better, because we know that you guys are going to come. And if we're not in our game, you guys are going to kick our butts, and we're going to be, left by the wayside. So we got to hold strong, and hopefully you guys can mentor the next generation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, going off what Sarah said, I can't thank both enough. I definitely got lucky with my mentor, and everything you've said means a lot to us. So does anyone have any other questions? Just last minute things, comments?
Yeah, I have one last question that's not necessarily dental related, but I'm also interested in the financial aspect or the business aspect of dentistry. And I was wondering if you have any recommendations on books or podcasts, even where we can start, because I've also heard a lot about how to run your own business from dentists, and it's certainly very difficult and challenging. So it'd be very helpful if we know like where we can start and all that.
Kyle?
So the consulting group I use, they're called Fortune Management. They have their own podcast. You can look up their website, and I believe they're doing more for dental students as far as introducing ways to set that foundation for business, for culture, for all the things that make a dental office great. Other business places where I've picked up some information, being a part of, as a dental student and shortly after dental school, you'll get huge discounts when it comes to continuing education. Those are things that you can take advantage of, save a lot of money, and there's generally a lot of different business aspect or business classes that you can take. I can't give you a list, but if you sign up as student members of the American Dental Association, as members of the AGD, there's they send out emails from time to time. But as far as Blatchford, Bill Blatchford, BLATCHFORD, he has a consulting group. They do a podcast also where they talk about the business of dentistry. There's a Facebook group, Dental Nachos. He is based out of Philadelphia, but he has a pretty big Facebook following and he does continuing education lectures, and he talks a lot about the business of dentistry also.
The guy who actually is in charge of that dental nacho guy is a bit of a jerk. Yeah. I had an interaction with him. He's a jerk. He thinks he's like, he's like that guy that thinks he's too cool for everything. But anyway, his actual, you're right, his Facebook group is incredible. He himself is a jerk, and I hope he hears me. I remember Dentalpreneur, I think, was another podcast that I was really big on when I first started.
Dental Town?
Dental Town, excellent. Dental Town, you can sign up for it, pre-dental or whoever. You can easily sign up for it. Dentaltown.com is really good. Howard Ferran has, if you go on YouTube, he has, I think it's called 30-Day MBA. He basically breaks down business very, very simply and kind of puts it into very simple terms. And I mean, it's really good. I remember listening to the whole thing and go, man, that really is, because you can implement a lot of the stuff that he talks about. You know what I mean? So, I mean, just like with anything, business starts with the people that you're trying to cater to, right? So he breaks that down really well. If you want to, guys, go on our podcast, Truth Be Told, and look for episode 106, where we break down CEs and stuff like that, different courses and who to follow on Instagram and books to read and so forth. If you bring that down, you'll basically see a whole list of stuff to kind of follow and read and so forth. So it's episode 106. It's a dental CE one. That was really, really good. And my good friend, shout out to Dr. Alfredo Alvaruz. He was excellent. He really broke it down really well for us. That's basically 10 years worth of knowledge that he put all in one space. So just look into that. Man, I don't know, man. I just feel like you guys are so young to be thinking about running a business, but hey, you guys say this is why you're excellent. You know what I mean? Like, I think I was just trying to graduate, you know?
Yeah, and that to go off of that was really the biggest reason I wanted to do this was I think a lot of us find ourselves so in the moment, so focused on our classes and getting good grades and studying for the DAT and really just the stress of getting into dental school that sometimes we forget about that next step. So I think an event like this was great just to get some perspective. And again, those podcasts are great information. Now, I don't know what we'll be doing with that tomorrow. You know what I mean? But down the road, that's some great information. So.
Yeah, thank you. That was very helpful.
Awesome. And honestly, guys, good luck. Really, really good luck. I'm excited for you guys. Just remember why you got into dentistry. I think once you start working and you had a bad day here and there, you forget why you got into dental school. You forget moments like this where you chose to come and do this, and you were excited. I remember being excited to get into dental school and getting excited about my acceptance and meeting my classmates and so forth. So don't forget those feelings, because that's what's going to push you through everything. So if you guys can remember that, I promise you, you'll do fine, man. And if you ever need a reminder, just let us know. You know what I mean? Like, we're grumpy old men 90% of the time, but the other 10%, we get a chance to interact with people like you guys that make it worth our while completely. So.
Well said, Walter.
Yeah, I was going to say, Kyle, follow up with that one.
No, I'm just going to leave that. Well said, Walter, and that's all I got.
Awesome.
All right, I'll go ahead and stop the recording now.